motion carried. To the agenda then as presented. The first item would be the minutes of our June 12th council meeting. I'll entertain a motion. Councillor Stoyles moves to accept the minutes as presented, seconded by Councillor Ledwell. Errors or omissions from the minutes of June 12th? Errors or omissions only. Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded, the motion is carried. Business arising from the minutes of June 12th. Any business arising? Councillor Tessier.
Item 403.
You got your mic on?
Yes, I do.
Good.
Item 403, we discussed the water conservation order, and we discussed whether landscaping companies are using potable drinking water within their businesses. Given that we've had a particularly dry summer so far and water levels are starting to make the news now, I'm wondering if we have any updated information on that vis-a-vis our water levels, for one, and any updated information from landscaping companies, for a second.
I would think Councillor Walsh or Councillor Aker on regional services might have something as opposed to even senior staff at the moment. Councillor Walsh, I'm going to turn to you as our chair. What's the latest on our water levels?
The latest water levels were very good, actually. We were over 23 feet, which was good. Yeah. Good for this time of the year and good for a regular summer. Not close to where we'd consider putting in water bans. The conservation order is in effect all the time. I don't know if any member staff had any opportunity to follow up on where we are with regards to the commercial users, but I think we noted at the last meeting, Your Worship, that the users that used to use liquid chemicals are now switched to a solid system, so they wouldn't be stretching our water resources at all now, because they're not any longer mixing chemicals, to the best of my knowledge. Now that may be a different situation for new lawn installations. I'm not particularly sure. I do know, to answer Councillor Tessier's question, which is a very valid one, whatever is done with regional water now, Councillor Tessier, is done in unison with all of the regional partners. So it would affect CBS, Paradise, St. John's, Mount Pearl, Portugal Coast and Phillips, and that's something that we would do together. So we would not want to see one regional municipality going out and putting in place certain restrictions on the water capacity, because it obviously has implications for the others as well. So that's all I could give you by way of an update, unless someone else has other particular information.
Okay, that's what information we got. That it, Councillor Tessier? Any other business arising? Anybody else with business arising? Again, this would be from the minutes of our public meeting of June 12th.
Yes, just one more thing.
One more thing, Councillor Tessier.
I didn't know if anybody else would bring it up. On 406, we had the Ruth Avenue School District traffic study. We did have the public meeting at Mount Pearl Intermediate one day last week, June 18th. I have to say, I was very disappointed with the turnout from the public. We only had a couple of members of the public show up.
Really, only one from our public?
Yeah, one member really from our public. There was another person that was there was somebody who's done similar work for the school district. And I think MHA Steve Kent was there, and Janet Kent was also there as a teacher from Mount Pearl, or from St. Peter's Elementary. Very disappointed, because I mean, we all recognize how congested the traffic can be in the school area during peak times. I mean, we certainly did have a lively discussion just the same, which I was really pleased about, but it would have been wonderful to have more members of the public there, especially people who have certainly aired concerns about congestion in that area at peak times. So I just, I want to commend the public session. I mean, it was certainly really informative, and the consultants were well prepared, and certainly stimulated a lot of conversation, and that was great. But again, I was disappointed with the public turnout. I have to say.
Do we come out of this with a recommendation on changes that will improve the traffic situation?
I suspect there will be some recommendations. There will probably be some varied recommendations, and we'd have to determine which would be best suited for us. And some of them may be short-term ideas that we can come up with, quite quickly in the interim. Some of them might be more long-term and certainly much more expensive. However, I think it'll be interesting to just wait and see what the consultants come back with. But we had discussions on all levels: long-term solutions, short-term fixes, potentially. So, again, I hope that some of it might get implemented in September, but we'll have to see. But anyway, it was disappointing to see so few people.
Well, you'll hear from the public when you implement something.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they don't like it.
Absolutely.
That's generally how Councillor
Yeah,
Walsh?
what's interesting, Your Worship, this is funded in part by the school district through the provincial government and ourselves. What's interesting, again, is the fact that, well, it was disappointed that we didn't get a big uptake from the public, but the implications are twofold. We have an internal, traffic flows on 4 school lots that we don't control, so that we'd need the full cooperation of Eastern School District and the schools to be able to do anything with that. And of course that has implications for how and where traffic flows and empties into our streets and how they come into the, again, the privately administered school lots. So, and I suspect, based on the feedback, and we were all there, it's going to be a very multifaceted approach. There's not going to be a simple fix. It's going to take a lot of time, I think, and a lot of different tentacles onto this to try to make it work. But I just want to make note of the fact that there's a public piece of it, and then there's a private piece for traffic flows on the lots for buses, and that's a big part of it, because how they flow and how they enter and how they exit the lots means a lot in terms of, for example, the right turns, must turn right, they were not installed by our forces. They were installed by the Eastern School District, and that has a huge impact on Michener Avenue and Ruth Avenue, for example. So I guess we'll wait and see.
Okay. Any other items? Again, business arising. Councillor Ledwell.
Thank you, Your Worship. One other positive thing that I thought came out of it was the fact that we're talking more long-term than maybe short-term fixes with, changes in lanes and what have you. And we're talking about, encouraging biking and physical activity, active transportation, if you will. Also encouraging carpooling and maybe different programs at the schools, along with the city, can institute to change the mindset of people. Because ultimately, if you're going to make things safer, it's a community effort. And it was nice to see that type of long-term thinking at the meeting, and it was a good discussion.
Okay, thank you. Any other business arising, again, from the minutes of June 12th? Hearing none, we'll move on to committee work. We don't have any proclamations or correspondence to address today, Council. So we'll move to committee, the first one being Public Works. Councillor Walsh, if you would.
Thank you, Your Worship. First order of business for Public Works is a tender for a 6x4 plow truck. These are the heavier trucks, Your Worship, that we use for our operations. We had 2 bids only, one from Harvey and the other from Western Star. And as is our practice, if we have both that qualify, we're going to go with the low tender from Western Star. We're recommending for $234,351.83. Yep. It's a very valuable truck.
$250,000 for a truck.
Yep.
People just don't realize, right?
They're expensive.
Wow.
That's the 6x4. Yeah. So they're expensive. So and they're not. You would probably think that you get at least 4 or 5 qualified bids, but we only had 2, and we're going to go with the lower one. So that's our recommendation, and I so move.
It has been moved, seconded by Councillor Tessier. Question or comment beyond what has already sarcastically been made by the mayor? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary-minded, motion carried.
Trucks are expensive. Sewer cleaners are even more expensive, Your Worship.
Oh, my God. Oh, my Lord, yeah.
And in this case, there's only a single source, qualified bidder, and that's from Saunders Equipment. The cost, Your Worship, is $301,827.52. And since it is, Saunders are a tremendous company to work with and supply good equipment. I think most of our garbage trucks are actually through Saunders, but they were the sole bidder, and obviously for that reason we're going to recommend that we go with them, and I so move.
Moved, seconded. Okay, by Councillor Tessier. Question or comment? All in favor? Contrary-minded? Motion carried. We just spent $500,000 in 90 seconds.
Piece of cake.
Moving on.
Yeah, that's right. Especially the back
What a
rows.
$25 donation before the day is out. Yeah.
Yeah, we stand very tall on principle. Your Worship, just want to give a little update on our automated garbage collection system. First of all, we'll deal with the Phase 1A, the first phase. That's now been in operation for a couple of weeks, and on the 5th of July, that evening, which is a Thursday evening, we're going to meet with the residents again and provide them with yet a second opportunity to give us some feedback in terms of how they feel it's going, particularly with regards to some of the concerns they had, because some people did raise concerns about the weight. I hope that they found that having used the system, that these things are actually very, very able to be mobilized with, I'm proud to say, with just a couple of fingers if you wanted to do that. But even in the worst of conditions, because of the large size of the wheels and the strong axle mechanism, they work well. So we're going to meet with them, talk to them again, see what their experience has been, despite the fact that we have a huge amount of research and information and data from other sources. We want to have our own homegrown information, and so we're going to follow up with them as we promised on the 5th of July. At or about the same time, we're going to launch, as we did with Phase 1A, a second phase that provides some challenges in terms of the hills and slopes and maybe even higher winds north of Topsail Road. So the Farrell Drive area is an area that's been identified. We're sort of looking forward to that because, again, if there are any problems, we want to be able to identify them in that area. But in particular, we're hoping to be able to allay any fears or concerns that people have with regards to being able to operate this system effectively on steep grades and slopes, such as Farrell Drive will provide. I don't think there's anywhere in the region, actually, which has even more slope or grade than Farrell Drive. The city of St. John's obviously has more of them, but this will provide as good a test for the equipment in these conditions, at least, as we're likely to get anywhere. So with that, we continue to move forward. As I said when we first introduced that, my hope, and I think the hope of everyone, is that even if there were 15 or 20% of the people who may have had questions or concerns or challenges, we're hoping that at least half of those, if not more, will be easily converted once they see the system in operation. I have to, again, present kudos to the staff for their. The launch was incredibly well organized. It went off well. We've got a number of people in our senior staff, some of them who are here today, Jerry, Branda, our CAO, all kinds of people really worked to make sure that this thing, the launch was successful. And indeed it was. We had great coverage, and we're just looking forward to continuing on with this. We're saying that the entire city will be on before the end of the year, but the hope is that it will be fully on stream at least halfway through the fall, because we'd like to have things up and running prior to the end of December. But part of that is contingent on the supply and delivery of the carts and some other things, all of which we don't totally control. So things are going well as we could expect, if not better. And we're going to continue to test this and make sure that any wrinkles or concerns that might be there are removed prior to full implementation. Thanks again.
Wonderful. Thank you. Councillor Stoyles, a comment?
I did have a comment and a question, actually. I went around the morning before the launch, when they did launch, and I've noticed there was about 4 or 5 that had the containers overflowing. Are we going to, or can we, when we give out the containers to the residents, can we have something with them saying that the container should be able to close? Because the only concern I saw in the ones that, and I know when Labrador City did theirs, one of the things that they sent out with the containers was that the containers should be able to close. When I went around the morning of the collection and a couple of times since, they really need to make sure that the container closes, because if it's not, the bags are hanging out over and falling out, and if it's windy at all, they're going to blow out over the top, especially if it's light stuff on it. Now the recyclables certainly is fine on the ground, because when the recyclables is separate, but I didn't notice a lot. But and if people got too much garbage to put out and they got the container full, maybe they should hold on to it until the following week, or maybe one of their neighbours might have enough room that they could throw a bag in this. I mean, but I was only a few, but I'm wondering maybe that's something we should look at.
I could respond to that unless you want to. Well, first of all, maybe you could add something to it. I didn't see a single one on that morning of the launch. I drove through Mortimer. I didn't get to Wilcox, but the other streets I did. I went. Did you see any overflowing?
I saw one overflowing.
Did you? I didn't. If that's the case, though, obviously it shouldn't be. They can't overflow. There are clear guidelines in our regulations that change it. And we have updated our garbage regulations, which is really important. because this is an entirely new system. We looked at not just changes that pertain to the container, but other changes as well that were made. So it was a thorough review. We vetted it through committee. I think it was reviewed by staff already, or has it been? Sorry? The next level is through staff. So we're in the process of doing that. We've had an opportunity to see them. So it's very clear. In fact, in the pilot area, there's even, although I think, as I think of it, that's more pertaining to the actual automated system and with park it pointed and all that. It's actually with a fridge magnet. But that's a very good point, Councillor Stoyles, because they shouldn't be overflown, because that does jeopardize the effective use of the automated arm, etc., and it shouldn't be the case. You may have another comment on where that is.
Yes, I did notice on the first day as well, there were some carts that were overflowing. Phase 1A residents were given an FAQ list, a frequently asked question list. That included the carts can't be overflowing, but they've got to be able to close. So some people just were not mindful of that or what have you. In the full rollout, yes, we'll include that for everybody, and everybody will get the same instruction. So it's part of our enforcement to make sure that the carts are indeed able to close. It does cause a problem if they're lifted by the arm. There were some carts that day actually did some of the garbage spilled out. Part of the learning experience. But we will correct that with the going forward.
I would think that the use of our municipal enforcement would be something we would use. There's no reason why we can't remind people one-on-one, civic address to civic address, don't do that again. You know?
Just if I could, one more comment, Your Worship. Councillor Stoyles provided a good suggestion to our own question, actually, because these normally can take 4 or 5, and if they're really well compacted, maybe even 6 bags of household garbage. That's a lot for a given week. So if you have one that were overflowing, the neighbor next door or 2 doors down might only have 1 or 2 bags of garbage. So it might be something that you might be able to do. That seems like the most sensible, practical approach to it, rather than have it overflow. And I think that'd be a good solution.
Yeah, well, I can tell you, I got a feeling there's always going to be room in the one at my house. You know, there's always going to be. Okay, are we done with Public Works? If we are,
I am, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Walsh. Councillor Tessier, Community Services, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Canada Day, of course, is for most residents in our country is to commemorate actually Canada Day, but in Newfoundland and Labrador, July 1st should be recognized first and foremost as Memorial Day. And as always, we are having Memorial Day ceremonies at the Legion at Park Place starting at 11 o'clock. And there's a parade that's going to start at the intersection of Park Avenue and O'Keefe at 10:30, and it will end up at 11 o'clock at the Legion. And of course, this is to commemorate the Battle of Beaumont Hamel, where in less than an hour, some 733 Newfoundland soldiers were either wounded or killed out of 801 in the 1st Newfoundland Regiment. So this is an occasion for us to commemorate their sacrifice to ensure that their battle and their efforts have not been forgotten by us. So this is just for the information of the public. We'd like to see as many members of the public to come out, of course, and pay their respects to the Legion. The next item, Your Worship, 40 years and 40 hours of soccer. I remember when we first had the initial discussions at Community Services level, and we all thought that 40 hours of soccer was just a pie in the sky, fabulous idea, but would it ever happen? Well, indeed it did happen. On June 22nd to the 23rd, I think it started at 8 a.m. one morning and finished at midnight. The next day, the Mount Pearl Soccer Association enjoyed 40 hours of continual soccer play with athletes of all ages. I think some 700 athletes were there throughout the course of that 40 hours, and we want to commemorate the executive, the volunteers, anybody who had any role to play in this, because they actually did reach their goal of 40 hours of soccer, continual soccer, at Smallwood Drive on the turf field, and it was really a pleasure to get down there. I couldn't get there on Friday for the opening luncheon, but I did get there on Saturday for a little while, and it was great. The spirit was pretty high there. There were some tired faces there on Saturday afternoon, I'll tell you that.
Well, there were a few of them,
sleepy
that were there, I think, for the entire 40 hours. Some of
Yeah.
the organizers and whatnot. But
Yeah, there were some sleepy people.
yeah,
And
we got to unveil the new flag and
Yes,
the
yes.
commemorative 40th anniversary flag. And it was a nice day.
Yeah,
And,
you know what? It looked fabulous.
Congratulations to them. It was a tremendous thing to undertake, and they raised some money for
I was going to say,
Children's
on
Wish.
top of that, they raised $1,000 for the Children's Wish Foundation,
Really
which
nice.
is absolutely fabulous. Yeah, with the
That's
40
right.
hours.
That's the longest
Oh, the 10-hour game, that was the overnight game.
soccer marathon.
Yeah, absolutely fabulous. Anyway, we want to congratulate them. I mean, they're celebrating 40 years of soccer in Mount Pearl. This was an absolutely fabulous way to commemorate their achievement as well. Some work is happening now in the Team Gojju parking lot. I know that we've had some delays, but work has officially started. The culvert action has started today. They're hoping to be completed by July 18th. We know that soccer in particular has a big event happening in the middle of July. So what we're going to do is work on the entrance first and then work on the exterior work after that to try and make sure that the entrance is not impeded during the national tournament that's coming in the middle of July. But we're encouraging all the user groups to pay attention to the traffic signage. We're going to be sending information out, I'm sure we already have, to the user groups to keep them updated of what's going on. And of course, we're going to have updates on our website as well. And the Sport Alliance website will also carry our updates. So we just want to let people know that for their information, it will be hopefully short-term pain for long-term gain on that site. There were 2 tender bids for the provision of bus services for the summer program of 2012. They're listed there, Executive Taxi and Dave Gulliver Cabs Limited. And we are recommending approval to award the tender for the provision of bus services for the 2012 summer program to the lowest qualified bidder, which is Executive Taxi, in the amount of $16,325.61, and that's tax included, and I so move.
Moved by Councillor Tessier, seconded by Councillor Stoyles. Question or comment? Hearing none, all in favor? Contrary minded, motion carried.
And we have one item outside your kit. Everybody should have a sheet of paper there.
We do. Surprising, we have a sheet of paper today.
We have a sheet of paper. But this was at my request. This was something that Jim Kennedy and I discussed at the Seniors Independence closing dinner, and I asked him to certainly forward this information along because it's commemorating some Mount Pearl residents as well. On June 9th, there was a number 83 NLCC Northern Ranger Cadet inspection, and it took place for cadets between the ages of 9 and 13 years old. Jim Kennedy, of course, attended. He's the president of the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 36, and he wanted to let us know that CPO First Class Joshua Gilmet, I'm going to say, he received Cadet of the Year from the Navy League of Canada, and he also received the Queen's Jubilee Medal, among other awards, and that's quite an accomplishment. And also Commanding Officer Craig Hunt for receiving the Government of Canada Award for Volunteering, and all officers, of course, for their continued hard work as volunteers, because, of course, volunteers make our world go round, and certainly the Cadet Corps is no exception to that. So we wanted to bring those accomplishments to the attention of the public because, again, these are the result of very, very hard work, dedication, and commitment. And that is it.
I thank you so much. I'm assuming we will send out some congratulatory notes to these people as soon as we can get addresses on them. Thank you for that. The next committee is Corporate Services. Councillor Locke is not here, so Councillor Aker, if you would, and the alternate would be Councillor Walsh.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. We have 2 items today from the Corporate Services Committee. The first item is the tax deferrals for low-income earners in accordance with our policy for tax deferral. You see 3 roll numbers given there. The amounts range from $468 up to $1,393, and we ask that these taxes be deferred, and I so move.
Moved, seconded. Question or comment? All those in favor? Contrary minded, motion carried.
Next item, Your Worship, is invoices for Council's approval in the amount of $608,938.86. I note that half of that, a little over half of that, is for Marco Services. I guess we're committed now. This is the first payment for the new multiplex, and I understand from Director Antle this has to do with upfront costs, particularly insurance and bonding and the like. And I also notice the fence is up around the site.
Yes.
And I guess it's the belly of the pool is being dug as we speak. And I so move.
Moved, seconded. Question or comment?
I have a question.
Councillor Walsh.
Stop my seconded it at all. I just want to know the holdback on from Western Star. What was that related to? Do we recall? Sorry, I didn't have my own mic on. Yeah, the holdback from Western Star Sterling Trucks.
That's item 8.
What that was 2 flyers that we purchased last year. When they came in, there was something that wasn't within the spec that we had actually tendered. So rather than refusing acceptance of the trucks, we accepted the trucks with a commitment from the dealer that would be rectified, which it now has been. So what we had done was we had just withheld some of the payment on those until that situation was taken care of.
Good, thank you. And the reason I asked that is because we just ordered another
Yes.
vehicle from Western Star.
That's right. Okay, thank you. We'll call the question then. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried. And that's all for finance today, Councillor Aker. We'll move to Engineering Services Committee. Councillor Ledwell.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just one item this evening. It has to do with the awarding of the tender for the second part of the 2011 street upgrading. Enclosed in the package is a letter from the consultant, Bay New Plan, outlining the two bids that we had received. Both were found to be in order. The committee is recommending that we award the second part of the 2011 street upgrading project to the low bidder, which was Weir's Construction, for the bid amount of $407,126.57, and I so move.
It is moved by Councillor Ledwell, seconded by Councillor Stoyles. Questions? Comments? Councillor Aker?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I'm just trying to figure out, we're awarding this to Weir's Construction. Now, Weir's has a lot of work on the go in the city, and I think they're doing Mount Carson Avenue as well as doing the upgrades to the Team Gushu parking lot, and they may be doing other work for all I know. I know Modern is as well. Is Weir's going to be able to finish this, do you think, start this work and finish
Sounds
it by
like
the
a
end of this year?
capacity question.
It does, doesn't it? Just curious.
Mr. Randall?
It's a fair question. Lots of contractors nowadays are quite busy. It's a challenge for us to manage that. Part of our duties with the city's engineering staff is to provide adequate project management to keep on their tails. They've provided the lowest bid. They are committed to a schedule, and we shall ensure that they meet it.
So the schedule has an end date.
The schedule has a time frame. I don't know what is right in front of me now. From start of mobilization on the site, they have a time frame from the time we actually award the contract to when they get on site, and then a time frame from on site to finish.
Okay, Councillor Aker?
Yeah, just so there, Mount Carson should be finished with a bit of luck. And when I mean luck, I mean weather luck. I think we're working on it this week. Team Gushu starting now as we speak, really. And I guess we're aiming middle to late July to have that finished. So assuming they have no other work on the go, we don't know what other work they have. That'll probably, it's safe to say, it'll get started at least by this fall. And of course, that's the goal, I guess, of the department, is to manage that, to bring that done, get that completed by the end of the fall.
That's fair to say, yes. A little update on Mount Carson. They're expected to place, I got some questions on this past week, leveling course, we call it, in the next couple of days. Forecast is heavy rain, believe it or not, Thursday and Friday. So we expect surface course will be Monday, Tuesday of next week. Monday, I believe, is a holiday for them as well.
Yes.
So Canada Day. So Tuesday is expected to be the surface course, all weather holding.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Aker?
So I guess to follow that up, we would normally, according to our policy, we would normally notify publicly which streets are being done. And is that would be posted, I'm assuming, on our website. I wonder, do we hold that until at least the construction starts? Because I'm always leery when we say we're going to do these number of streets. And many of the contracts in the past, through no fault of the city, haven't got completed to the next year. So we raise the expectations of the residents. I'm just curious, what will the timing be in terms of posting it on our website, for the residents to see that the streets will be done?
We're working on a list of streets right now for next year, actually, for our next 2012 program, and we notify residents of those streets as well. CP3 is the next package of 2011, so there's a list of streets ready for that as well. We haven't issued that at this point in time, but it won't be very long. We'll have them actually delivered to those residents.
Your Worship.
Councillor Stoyles?
I wasn't going to speak to it today because we had spoken at our committee meeting about it, but one of the concerns when we talked about notifying residents is residents want to know. Like, I had a phone call last week from a lady that her street was painted and she was wondering if the street was going to be done, and I said, more than likely it is. Let me check it out, because I didn't have the list in front of me, and sure enough, her street was going to be done. Several months ago, she had just done her driveway, spent $4,000 on her driveway. So we want to let the residents know that, and I understand Councillor Aker's concern, not letting them know, and it's great that, as long as they know it's going to be done. I think we should be letting residents know sooner rather than later, because if they're planning on doing any work, because sometimes when they come in and get their permit, the permit is just automatically given to them for a driveway, because this lady had her permit, she came, she got her permit, and nobody actually thought of saying to her, bye, don't do your driveway this year, and I wouldn't have known either. I mean, and I'm on council, but I think we need to try and have something in place that if somebody comes in, they get a permit for their driveway, and we have it on the list within the next year or the next 2 years to do.
I don't know how that's a problem.
Well, they got to dig it up, and it's going to be a split in her driveway. Every time we do a street, more than likely, we cut half the piece of the driveway's out, and they got a brand new driveway there now, and the driveway is going to have, because when we do the curb and gutter, we cut the driveway, and every time we do the curb, the sidewalks,
Yeah, okay.
but every time we do a street, more than likely, everybody on that street, more than likely, most of them, depending on, I guess, the side of the street they're on, got the, got their driveway cut. And anybody who got a brand new driveway in certainly don't want that to happen. And I know she had a concern about it, so something that we're trying to look at to try and, let people know that the street is going to be done.
Your Worship?
Councillor Aker.
Yeah, no, I agree with Councillor Stoyles. I think the devil's in the details. We can't announce this until we award, because otherwise we're letting, I guess, the cat out of the bag. But at the same time, I think the message has to be broadcast properly. That we're not, we don't send a message saying we're starting right away. We actually give an accurate message as to when we think the contractor will be there. It's nice to know that your street's going to get done.
Yeah.
You might defer doing your driveway. It's nice to know that in advance. But if the message goes out now to those residents, I feel we should be telling them it probably won't start until the fall.
And
or at least taking into account where's the schedule. And those are the issues that you're managing and that we reflected in our communication. Okay, thanks.
Randall, final comment on it?
It's a good point. I mean, we need to be able to coordinate with residents to allow them to get work done on their driveways. There are people that have brought it to our attention. They just do the driveway, and then we have to cut down the side of it. It particularly applies when we're simply replacing curb or replacing sidewalk.
But that's
You've
just
got-
a straight cut down.
It's a straight cut. It could be about a foot from the edge of an existing sidewalk or an existing curb. If we're putting a new sidewalk, well, we're actually moving back up somebody's driveway. You can get in a pretty good cut, and you can actually almost pour the concrete against the asphalt. Generally speaking, though, the grade is changing. It's either up or down on the driveway, and we're actually impacting people's driveway. We've got to cut back enough to get a taper in to the new concrete that's there. So it is fair. I mean, we've got to give people some notice. Some people actually do have a new driveway planned. If they can plan their new driveway when we're actually coming by after we got the curb installed, well, then they can tie in perfectly. So it's fair for us to give them notice.
I know people who wait, and I understand that our contractors who actually do this work for us make a lot of extra money because they literally send people knocking on the door saying, we're going to be paving this road. Now, if you want your driveway done at a good price, now is your time,
Yes.
right? And fellows wait for that. I've had people ask me, like, when is our street going to be done? I got to get a drive, and they want to wait for that contractor to show up because it saves them money. Right? So the point is well made. So, but I agree that yes, early notification, but let's tamper or dampen expectations that it's all going to happen, as we said, in the time frame we said. I think that's a fair comment. Councillor Ledwell.
Of course, I guess I concur with Councillor Aker's point that we should probably post in the list of streets on the website. But do we not also circulate a brochure or some kind of correspondence to the residents on the affected streets so that they know to expect perhaps weeks or if not months in advance that it's going to be done?
I don't know
we
that we do
that
that
as well.
We do? Okay. Okay, yeah, good. All right, that's everything on that? That's everything on engineering?
Yes.
We are going to planning and land use. Councillor Aker.
Thank you again, Your Worship. Planning and land use. First item there is the consolidation of lots 10 and 10A Becklin Road, and we're bringing this forward to council because the owners would like to consolidate the two lots and build two buildings. All the other conditions that would be required by the department, such as the joint access agreement and all that, and all the relevant information you see there, will be provided for. But we ask council's approval because in the case of a subdivision plan, there's two lots indicated, and now there will be one. So really, this is just I wouldn't call it a rubber stamp, but a technicality required by the department, and I so move.
Moved, seconded. I'm assuming then that with the consolidation, I've looked at the maps, with the consolidation into one lot, should it ever come about in the distant or even not too distant future that they are going to part ways again, that separating the two lots and having both of the buildings meet our development standards remains intact.
It does, and this anticipates that down the road, if they were to be subdivided, a joint access agreement would be applicable.
Automatic anyway.
It has to be. There's no other way of doing it.
There would be no other problems if the owner decides he's going to sell one of these buildings.
Right, and I understand the department has given the owners of the property that heads up, and that's a pretty standard practice too with all of our commercial lots, whether it be in Donovan's or in our other industrial commercial land assemblies.
It has been moved. It has been seconded. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried.
The next item, Your Worship, is an application for a sign for Eastern Edge Credit Union, and you can see the back of this building as you drive up Kenmount Road towards the city of St. John's. Across the street is the town of Paradise, and there's some neighboring residences there. They would like to put a sign on the back of their property. And the reason for that is, I guess, it's the visibility associated with the traffic. While it's unusual, it's not banned, and Kenmount Road it's very common to see on Kenmount Road these types of signs. Our development regulations require that if it was in the city of Mount Pearl, if it wasn't abutting a neighboring town, a 60-meter clearance between the sign and any residences in the area. Further, it goes on, our regulations go on to say that the sign cannot be facing directly towards residential areas. So we saw no problem with the sign. I think the town of Paradise had a little concern with this as it relates to traffic, but we don't see, given the location of Kenmount Road, the amount of traffic there, and the abundance of signs on that street, we don't really see a safety issue there. The only slight discretionary item here, Your Worship, is normally the regulations require that the sign be no higher than 8 meters in height, and the developer has requested a sign in height of 9.14 meters, but the difference is really because the elevation of the land is quite a distance below the grade on Kenmount Road, and effectively it offers the same visual height, I guess you could say, for a sign on Kenmount Road. And I'd like to move that council approve this sign today.
Moved. Seconded. Question or comment? All in favor? Contrary-minded? Motion carried.
Abstain.
Have the record note, yes, that Councillor Stoyles is abstaining from this particular vote due to an apparent conflict of interest. Her little hubby works for E.C. Boone, she says.
That's right.
E.C. Boone says he shows up.
Sign of the times.
Sign of the times.
Next item, Your Worship, is permits 34 through 36, development permits they be for June 11th to June 22nd, 2012, and I so move.
Moved and seconded on the development permit list. Three items. All in favor? Contrary-minded? Motion carried.
The next item is the residential development permits for the same period in the amount of $2,600,056.30, and I so move. And noting that it's that was a pretty good month, you know. That's a big chunk of permits for the month, and I think that's all we have. We don't have anything else, Your Worship. Thank you.
Moved, seconded, all in favor? Contrary-minded? Motion is carried. That concludes planning and land use. We are off to new business. I'm going to start with Councillor Tessier this week. Councillor Tessier. I'm just going to let you get off your feet for a minute there, Councillor Aker.
You're throwing us all off kilter. Just a few quick items. I want to congratulate Michelle Case, who was recognized recently as a life member of Kin Canada. If you were there, many of us were there to hear the accolades bestowed by Michelle, and her work has been tireless in our community, and with the Mount Pearl Cadets particularly. It was a beautiful event, I have to say. You always get such a warm feeling when you go to any kind of Kin Canada event, and this was certainly no exception. Michelle has been exemplary as a volunteer in our community, and I'm sure that she will continue, as do many of the members of Kin Canada. But Michelle, this was her night, and they did a beautiful job of acknowledging her, and this life member status is certainly something that is bestowed upon few people. So we're very, very fortunate that we actually have a couple of members of the Cadets in Mount Pearl who received their life membership.
It's number 4.
Yeah, and Michelle.
John's sister, actually, Mary Elizabeth.
Is that right?
Was
Yeah.
the first. Mary Elizabeth Furlong was the first member in the Mount Pearl Connect Club that ever received the life membership. And actually, I was honoured to be there when Mary Elizabeth had received her, and that's John's sister, and that was, I guess, about 15 years ago.
Yeah.
been
Anyway, it's
a while.
fantastic. It's fantastic. It was a beautiful evening, I have to
Here,
say.
here.
That same evening, we all attended the Seniors Independence closing dinner, and the numbers there were
Staggering.
mind-blowing. Again, what an active and vibrant, busy organization that is, and we're just so thrilled. We are the envy for many other areas in the province, and I would say the country as well, with the activity that our seniors get to enjoy. So that was a wonderful thing to be a part of. We were talking about Memorial Day a few minutes ago. The Mount Pearl Show Choir are on tour right now in Europe, and today they actually toured Beaumont Hamel. And on Memorial Day, they're performing at Vimy Ridge. So they're certainly doing us proud as the Mount Pearl Show Choir. Their reputation is stellar, and it has been now for 20. I think this is the 26th year. So we're really pleased that they're over there representing us and certainly commemorating Memorial Day as well. Canada Day. After everybody goes to the Memorial Day celebrations, we want to remind everybody to go to St. David's for the Canada Day celebration starting at noon till 3. This was in our agenda 2 weeks ago, but of course it's on Sunday now, so we want to just give everybody a reminder. There's going to be all kinds of entertainment there, Sky High Amusements. I think the Celtic Connection are going to be there performing. There's a magician who's going to be there. Admission is a non-perishable food item that's going to be given to St. Vincent de Paul Society, of course, which is an exceptional organization. So again, we're going to encourage as many residents of Mount Pearl to come out and participate and celebrate with us, both on Memorial Day, with the Memorial Day celebrations, with the Memorial Day services, and with the Canada Day celebrations. And that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Aker. Yeah, I'm mixing her up here today.
Something that I'd like to bring up, Your Worship, that pleases me to bring up. Probably all hear that. We would happier too. I attended as a parent a parent volunteer the Mount Pearl Senior High Safegrad on Thursday night. That started at 12 o'clock and went through till the wee hours of 7 o'clock in the morning. I heard numerous compliments about the staff at the Reed Center, from the chair of the committee, who is Leon O'Neill, to the chair of security, Debbie Curran. They all raved about the cooperation they got from the staff. I know there was pictures circulating through City Hall last week from the staff at the Reed Center taking great pride in showing what the parents and the staff had done up there in converting the Reed Center basically into a small Disney World. And we had a great time that night, but I really want, Director Collins, if you would pass that on to Bill Fitzgerald and all the staff up there, and there may be something coming in from Leona too, but not only did they give good service, as they always do, but they showed great pride. They really took a genuine interest, and they loved it as much as the parents and the kids do, and I think we're a better city because of it. So if you'd pass that on, that'd be greatly appreciated. The next item, Your Worship, attended the Hershey meet. I think also Councillor Ledwell was up there. If I miss anybody, I didn't get up for the whole day. 750 children were up there. They came from all over the province, and they competed from basically, 8 o'clock in the morning until 7 or 8 o'clock at night. I have a question as it pertains to the parking lot, because now that the new multiplex has started, a lot of the soil that's being removed, I guess where the swimming pool is going, is now being dumped on the upper parking lot. And while I don't specifically see an issue with that during the summer months, I'm a bit concerned that when the glacier reopens, especially when there's a senior hockey game or there's 2 events on the go, is that dumping just temporary, or is it the intention that that upper parking lot's going to be closed for the next year and a half or so? You couldn't access it now, I didn't know.
The expectation is, let's say, moving of fill just while we're digging the hole for the pool, and we'll ultimately be back onto the parking lot around the pool itself. It should be this fall when we're moving that material back to make that space available again. That's the plan.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. And the final thing, Your Worship, is we all attended, or most of us did, the Sundera opening, and it was really, Your Worship, you were there. You brought greetings on behalf of the city. I noticed today the foundation is almost in for the first building. They're doing 4 buildings, and as you said, Your Worship, this fits in nicely with the, I was going to say the corporations, with the city's strategic plan, and I think it was a fine event, and we look forward to more developments like this in the city in the near future. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Ledwell.
Thank you, Your Worship. I also wanted to congratulate life member from the Canettes, Michelle Case, along with Councillor Tessier. I was at the event as well. A wonderful event and certainly enjoyable. I wanted to make mention of the Chamber of Commerce annual general meeting that was held this past Thursday. And of course, that's the Mount Pearl Paradise Chamber of Commerce. You yourself were there, Your Worship, Councillor Tessier. A very good afternoon, certainly a nice dinner. Premier Kathy Dunderdale was the guest speaker. She gave certainly a very interesting speech. I also want to make mention of the new executive, and extensive congratulations to them, President Deborah Felton, who you yourself swore in at the event. I'm sure they'll continue their great work that they continue to do for the business community in both Mount Pearl and Paradise. So kudos to them, and a nice afternoon.
Thank you very much. I have to say, we ended the oath of office.
You what?
In the mayor's office.
You what?
The mayor and the deputy clerk quietly ended the oath of office.
I do, Your Worship. I have a few things. I too want to congratulate Michelle Case. I was at the event, and as a Connect myself from the Mount Pearl Connect Club, it was certainly an honour for me to be there to represent the city. And as I said, I mentioned Mary Elizabeth Furlan, Gail Breton, and Barry Reynolds are the two other. So they have 4 life members now in the Mount Pearl Connect Club, which is great to see. The works of so many great people, the Connect Club of Mount Pearl and the Kinsman Club of Mount Pearl. Michelle is actually the new president of the club again this year. She was president about 7-8 years ago, and as she says herself, she's recycled. Also, Your Worship, I was also at an event for Father Charlie Kelly last week. Father Charlie had his 40th anniversary as a priest, and he was a parish priest at St. Peter's and was mainly responsible for building St. Peter's Church. He was the one that came in and started the fundraising to build the church, and kudos goes out to him. He's been responsible and as a priest doing a number of churches in the province, and he did Mary Queen of Peace, and anyway, he's a fine man. I'd like for you to send out a letter to him congratulating him on his years of service in the priesthood. Also, Your Worship, the Brain Association is giving away helmets, and I talked to them last week, and I know they came in Mount Pearl a couple of times and give out helmets to children, but they want to give helmets out to children who are needy, and all you have to do is get on the Brain Injury Association website, and you can qualify by writing a little story, a parent or whatever, and they still have a number of helmets to give away, and they're willing to come back into Mount Pearl again. I know they were in here a week ago and give out, I think they give out about 30 or 40 helmets, and it's great to see. They were there for the opening, and I think that's something else that they're going to continue doing again. And as was mentioned, the seniors have finished their year, and of course the bus was in for the tours, and they do several bus tours throughout the year, and I certainly hope they have a safe summer. And I think that's it for me, Your Worship.